This story begins in 1964, in a quiet, forgotten town of the United States. A town where people slept early, doors stayed unlocked, and neighbors knew each other for generations. But behind this peaceful surface, one night unfolded an incident that changed the fate of one man, Karl Luke, a man who would eventually choose to bury himself alive, for 37 years. This is not just a story about crime or fear. It is the story of guilt, misunderstanding, a mother's confession, and a man who lived like a ghost beneath his own home. It was a cold winter night. The wind rattled the windows, and the streets were empty. Inside his small wooden house, Karl Luke, a middle-aged quiet man, sat reading a newspaper by the fireplace. He had lived alone with his wife for years, keeping to himself, avoiding unnecessary interactions. But Karl had one problem: his neighbors. 3 brothers living next door constantly quarreled with him. They argued over land boundaries, noise, and even petty jealousies. Their fights were known throughout the neighborhood. On that night, when the clock struck 2, Karl heard a strange noise. A faint metallic click, a whisper, then the sound of a door latch being lifted. He froze. 3 dark silhouettes slipped into his living room. Before Karl could speak, one of them hissed, "Check upstairs. He must be sleeping." Karl realized what was happening: a break-in. His heart pounded. His hands trembled. He reached for the only thing he owned for protection: his automatic rifle, legally kept for home defense. The moment the intruders turned toward him, Karl shouted, "Stop right there. Don't move." But panic erupted. A brief struggle, a shout, and within seconds, 3 rapid shots echoed through the wooden walls. Silence. 3 men lay lifeless on the floor. Karl called the police immediately, shaking, terrified, and breathless. He had defended his home. He thought the law would protect him. He was wrong. Within hours, the town awoke to breaking news. The 3 intruders were not strangers. They were his neighbors, the same brothers he often fought with. Rumors filled the streets. Maybe Karl planned this. He hated them. He invited them inside and killed them. He staged it to look like robbery. Soon, the media twisted the story. Neighbors exaggerated incidents. People invented motives. The pressure grew so much that police began doubting Karl's self-defense claim. Whispers turned into accusations. Accusations turned into threats. And threats turned into fear. Karl realized that the case was turning against him. The community he lived in for years now believed he was a murderer. One evening, before the police could arrest him for further questioning, Karl disappeared. The world believed he had fled the town, run to another state, or crossed the border. But the truth was much darker. Karl did not run. Instead, he built himself a tiny underground cellar beneath his own house. A space no larger than straight ruler 2 meters by 1 meter, a cramped, suffocating hole in the ground. With the help of his wife, the only person he trusted, he sealed himself inside. Before disappearing into the darkness, he told his wife, "No matter what happens, tell no one. Not even the children. If I leave this place, I will die. If I stay, I may live." His wife, crying, nodded. She loved him deeply and agreed to keep the secret. Karl stepped into the pit. A wooden lid closed above him. Darkness swallowed him whole. He had buried himself alive. Not for days, not for months, but for decades. For the first few months, Karl believed the police would stop searching. But the fear kept him inside. His wife would secretly pass him food at night. Karl would crawl out quietly, eat quickly, stretch his stiff back, breathe fresh air, and then return to the darkness before dawn. But after only a few months, tragedy struck. Karl's wife died suddenly, and with her death, the last person who knew his secret was gone. Karl's children grew up believing their father had died long ago. They sold the house. A new family moved in. Then another. Then a third. And through all these years, Karl remained inside his underground grave. He listened silently as strangers walked above him, laughed, cried, lived their lives, unaware that below their feet, a man was surviving in a coffin-sized space. Years passed. The small cellar became damp, filled with mold, dust, and foul air. The lack of sunlight destroyed Karl's health. He developed asthma, severe coughing fits, and constant chest pain. He aged alone. He suffered alone. He existed like a shadow. But he never left. Then one night, Many decades later, something happened. The current homeowner, awakened by a strangled noise, thought he heard coughing from under the floor. At first he ignored it, but the coughing continued, loud, desperate, agonizing. Frightened, he called the police. Officers arrived, puzzled but determined. They followed the sound, tapping and listening. Finally, one officer shouted, "There's a hollow space beneath this floor." They broke the wooden planks. And there, in the dark cavity, they found a weak, pale, trembling old man, with long white hair, thin skin, and sunken eyes. A man who looked like a ghost. He whispered, "My name is Karl Luke, and I've been living here for 37 years. The police were stunned. One officer stepped closer. Why did you hide like this?" Karl, choking on his own breath, replied, "I thought they were going to hang me. I killed 3 men to defend my home. Everyone believed I murdered them." The officer looked at him with disbelief. "Karl, do you not know what happened after you disappeared?" He shook his head slowly. "No, what happened?" The officer took a deep breath and said, "Their mother confessed. She admitted that her sons planned the robbery. She heard them discussing it. The court cleared you. You were declared innocent decades ago." Karl stared at him blankly. His lips trembled, his eyes filled with tears that had been locked away for years. He whispered, "Innocent. All these years I lived in a grave, for nothing." His voice broke. His cough echoed through the room. The truth hit him harder than any punishment could. He had imprisoned himself. He had lived in terror of a crime he never committed. He had wasted his entire life in a darkness he didn't deserve. Karl Luke was taken to a hospital after his discovery, but decades of living underground had destroyed his health. The world had changed. Technology, people, society. Everything was new to him. He was a man from the past, trapped in the body of a suffering old soul. His life became a tragic lesson. Fear can imprison a person more than walls, laws, or punishment. Sometimes the cage we fear the most is the one we build ourselves. And Karl Luke remained a symbol of a truth we often forget. A misunderstanding can destroy an entire life.